Good afternoon. I'm extremely pleased to be with you today and to have this opportunity to share our thoughts on a new era of power distribution. Let's do first maybe a little bit of history. We are in a pretty traditional industry, electrical distribution. Some pioneers like Edison started it late 19th century. And if we look at how the technology evolved during those years, it had been pretty slow actually, not very big changes. At the opposite, the consumptions raised exponentially of all kind. And guess what? It will still increase enormously much. Why? Due to few trends. The first one, the globalization of economy, is driving up the energy consumptions. Second, urbanization. We more and more live in cities. Cities are putting pressure on infrastructure, consuming energy as well. Digitization. Digitization needs to be enabled by energy as well. Last but not least, we are more and more numerous on the planet. And guess what? We need infrastructure. We need access to energy, to electricity to support that. At the same time, we can see that new technologies, IoT, and so on and so forth, is also creating a new way to address these energy consumptions, and probably to take it in a different approach. We still believe that we are facing together 4 key trends. The first one, we can smile when we look at it. We can say, yes, the world's going to be more electric. So what we're going to be talking about today is absolutely relevant. Power outage, let's say access to renewable energies, storage, so many things going to be electric in the future. The world's going to be more digital. Each of us, we know today the access we have to data, to content. At the same time, we know also the fear we have on the vulnerability of our businesses, vulnerability of our homes through cyber attacks. The world's going to be also more decarbonized. And that at least in 2 ways. The first way is the access to renewable energy. The second, which is probably a very smart approach to the subject, which is to waste less. To use the energy that we usually don't use, but that is produced and available for us. More decentralized, we talked about the multi-source approach, the world, but also the energy topic's going to be more decentralized. Let's do a little bit of history, and let's look at the topology of power distribution. It used to be a very sequential, linear flow. You know better than me that it starts by generation. The generation connects to transmission for high voltage, which connects to distribution, which connects to this type of facilities, houses, infrastructure with medium voltage or low voltage. This is a very traditional approach, but guess what? When you take that approach and when you think back about the 4 trends we described, this time is over. The new era of electrical distribution is going to be really different. And I would say different at least in 3 parts. First is that we go from a centralized to a decentralized approach, a multi-source generation. The second is that inside a facility like this one, you could have, of course, a backup power supply you need to give continuity of comfort and services to the guest. You could have also a second source of energy. You could have also storage to be able to, at the peak demand period, to be able to live on your batteries at a lower cost of access to energy. And the third, last but not least, point that is completely different thanks to technology is that today you can have really a power management infrastructure on the top of those changes. You can really control the way it's consumed, operated in such a building, but also on the network. This is what we call actually the paradigm shift. And by analogy, if you put yourself 20 years ago with a rotary dial phone and thinking, what did we get out of that phone? And look at today your phone, what you access in services, data, content through your phones. Think about the linear sequential power distribution infrastructure of the past. Think about what we can get through an IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure in the future. 6 points I would want you to keep in mind about this paradigm shift. The first one, we are moving from a single source to multi-source generation. The second, we go from centralized to decentralized, both consumption, production. We go from carbon-based energy sources to decarbonized renewable sources. We are moving from a straight alternating current to hybrid AC-DC current. We move from electrotechnical devices to electrotechnical and digital devices to enable an IoT infrastructure. Last but not least, we move from a simple metering, the one we were having at home for many years, inside the home, to a power management, a power monitoring system from homes up to the generation. This is the new era we will be collective living with. This is what is creating the foundation for a change in power distribution. Then, if we collectively think on how to better leverage digitization through the power distribution approach, let's think about 5 key trends. The first one, it's all about sensing. You can call it IoT explosion. At the end, it's pretty simple. It's about sensing, occupancy, temperature, consumptions, power quality. It's all about sensing. The second one, it's about autonomous building and industrial systems. What does it mean that this building would be autonomous? If I take an example coming from my last years in Sweden, we used to be able to operate buildings in a dynamic environment based on the context. But I was not as a human operating the building. The building was analyzing itself, different factors, different parameters, and was then adapting his temperature, his consumption, and so on and so forth accordingly. Typically, cold weather, warm weather, precise weather forecast, precise occupancy per room, facade management. Those are inputs that are helping buildings, but also factories, to be autonomous and dynamically monitored as a standalone building. Third is about the convergence of technical system with power as a backbone. As you know, let's take this building. You know, the electrical distribution was designed, and then separately you had as well the HVAC design. Then fire was also as an isolated system designed separately. And then IT was as well designed separately. But do you think when it's moved to operation that the building owners want to operate 4 or 5 different systems? No. And this is the beauty of an IoT-enabled infrastructure that is allowing also the convergence towards one control system. Fourth, pervasive decentralization. What does it mean? It means that when you apply that concept to an industrial world, we will be able to have a completely different approach to manufacturing and supply chain in the future. 3D printing, additive manufacturing will change completely the approach and landscape also on manufacturing approach. That will also imply new way of supplying power towards industries. Last but not least, the growth in mesh networks. How to have an IoT-enabled power distribution network without having proper communication in place. So technologies and new technologies in wireless and two-way communication in wireless with fast response are giving a possibility to really handle a distribution network, an infrastructure, real time, and really leverage an IoT-enabled infrastructure. What we suggest is a way to move forward towards this new world of electrical distribution. We call it EcoStruxure Power. And to make it simple, we represent it in 3 layers. The first layer is that you cannot build any IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure without having connectable and interoperable hardware. Breakers, switchboards, UPSs, relays, power meters, you name it, they have to be connectable and interoperable. The next layer is about the edge control. You need to converge those connected assets towards a software that is really leveraging this access to data and giving the most to a business owner or business operator to utilize his facility, make it efficient, reliable, and so on and so forth. The third layer is on the multi-site, remote type of approach. You really leverage apps, analytics, services, again, to get the most out of this IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure named EcoStruxure Power. We've been talking about trends. We've been talking about the paradigm shift that will make our business really different tomorrow than what it used to be. We've been looking at a simple answer, an answer based on technology combining hardware and IoT. I suggest now we move a little bit more to the real life, and we could listen to the owner or operator of a Nemours Children's Hospital in Florida, who gave his trust to EcoStruxure Power to make sure that his whole electrical distribution infrastructure would be based on EcoStruxure Power. Let's listen to Nemours Children's Hospital testimony.
I call my guys the silent heroes. We're the guys that keep the lights on, keep the hospital safe. My name is Nelson Roque, and I'm Director of Facilities and Operations here at Nemours Children's Hospital. Everything electrical here at Nemours Children's Hospital touches something of Schneider Electric. It is essential that the power is clean and steady all day long. If we were to experience a power interruption, our emergency backup generators would immediately fire up, and our Schneider Electric switchgear would switch to emergency power. Our radiology equipment, our operating rooms, and our data center are all on the Schneider Electric UPS system. The UPS is basically a battery backup. They can keep our equipment running for about a half hour. I feel that Schneider Electric comes to us as a partner, as part of the team. It's no different than the confidence that you expect to have in your doctors and nurses taking care of your children. When I leave here and I disconnect, usually what I do is I get on my motorcycle and ride. Just the fact that I have competent people and wonderful equipment lets me get away from here and not have to worry about what's going on back in the building, and that's very important to me.
We could get easily 1 point out of that testimony, is that yes, EcoStruxure Power is an IoT-enabled power distribution that simply works. But I would suggest that we would focus even on another point, is that behind that project, you have specifiers, designers, you have system integrators, panel builders, you have electrical contractors, general contractors, you have a facility manager, you have a technical facility manager, you have an operator. And guess what? This ecosystem is EcoStruxure Power. And EcoStruxure Power is more than just technologies. It's more than just the answer to the paradigm we discussed earlier. EcoStruxure Power is the energy, digital energy community. And you are here in the room, EcoStruxure Power. 6% out of 10 in this room are either, I will name them again, specifiers or designers, panel builders, system integrators, electrical contractors, facility managers, technical facility managers, owners or operators of a building. Sorry, not owners or operators. 4 out of 10 are owners or operators of a building. So both community, using, operating, or making this possible, we are together. We are the digital energy community enabling EcoStruxure Power. Collectively, as a community, we share 2 intelligence. This intelligence will be translated into an IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure. Point 1 of the intelligence, design. There is no single building that starts without a project, without a design. And guess what? From day one, together, we're going to design power distribution infrastructure that are connectable, that will be connected. The second intelligence we share collectively is that once you have this connected infrastructure, the data you can extract from it, the load intelligence, here we can bring a lot collectively to increase the efficiency, to increase the reliability of a given facility or building. As this digital energy community, making EcoStruxure Power to reality, we really bring collectively 2 intelligence, the design and our understanding of the load or interpretation of the load. You could think that this timeline is just about talking about the innovation path of Schneider Electric, the past 50 years of transforming power distribution. The past 50 years when 50 years ago we moved from fuse to circuit breaker. And this innovation powered by Schneider Electric. But this timeline is more than that. This timeline is 50 years of trust. Trust between us and specifiers, designers, system integrators, panel builders, end users, operators, and so on and so forth. And those 50 years of trust, if you translate it into the coming 50 years, this is what's going to make EcoStruxure Power or in other words, an IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure real. What can we do together? What should be the call for action out of, let's say, the 20 minutes or 25 minutes we spend together? First of all, I will remember this simple structure and keep it in mind. The answer to the paradigm shift is a simple infrastructure that we want together to deploy. Connectable, interoperable assets. An edge control that makes the most out of that infrastructure. And supreme for remote application, multi-site application, a possibility for apps, analytics, and services. Therefore, just keep 3 things on your to-do list from our session together. It all starts by designing a project with connectable assets and get it connected. If you don't sense, you will not extract data from your home, from your building, from your car, from wherever. The same applies here. Once you get the connection, you make sure that you connect it to a power management system that will extract from this data intelligence. Intelligence to operate the building in an efficient, reliable way. Make sure also you give another level of services, especially on multi-sites operators, for aggregators, for people who needs to be with peace of mind far from their premises, but who wants to be still on alerts. You have apps, analytics, services that can be even driving more value out of an IoT-enabled power distribution infrastructure. At the end, yes, it's technologies. Yes, we want this technology to simply work. But more important than technology, it is this digital energy community. In a way, you are EcoStruxure Power. You will make this happening. Thank you very much for your attention.